Hello there, I'm Mccube.
And I'm still Devil with you.
And he's still handsome indeed. Welcome to episode 9 of Meat Matters, where we get to the meat of the matter on everything beef. Meat Matters is brought to us by the Red Meat Industry Forum. Are you well, Devil?
I'm exceptionally well today. Mac, I can tell you it's been raining throughout South Africa. The farmers are getting rain. There's good enough feed for all the cattle. I'm doing perfect.
So you know by now that South African beef is packed with nutrition, and very specifically protein. So why is this protein so important to our health?
You see, Mac, you've got these guys who lift all the, pumping the irons. They need a lot of nutrition, and protein specifically. So protein provides the body with amino acids to build and maintain strong muscles. Protein is also critical to the formation of important enzymes, hormones, and neurotransmitters, keeping your body healthy and your brain as well. Finally, as antibodies, protein is involved in our immune system, helping us fight illnesses and maintain our health and wellness. So to counter COVID, eat red meat.
See? Quite simple. That's why you should enjoy our red meat more often. We are very pleased to welcome Walter Russo from Impala Vleis and Brits as one of South Africa's best performing butchers in the Cleaver Awards. He's here to give us some hints and tips on running a great butchery. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Hallo
very
Walter,
much.
lekker om jou uiteindelik hier te hê.
Baie dankie. Thank you.
Now, Walter, tell us about yourself, where you come from. Tell us a little bit about Impala Vleis.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity and for having me. We've a family business. We're two brothers, which we started in 2008. So it's a business built on family values. And we had a dream of building the best butchery in South Africa. And that's a dream that we're still working hard on, 13 years in. And it's an ongoing challenge to try and live up to that dream. And it's been a rewarding journey. Today we are blessed with a well-supported butchery by the local community, and that people drive out from Gauteng, and if you hear somebody coming from far, it's always too nice to host them there and know that your hard work's paying off. So today we're also delivering online to the whole of Gauteng, basically, and a bit of Northwest. And we obviously invite everybody to come and see if we actually live up to what we say we do, yeah.
Now, running a successful butchery is both a tough and rewarding job. Walter, please tell us what's the most important points to take care and when it comes to running, a successful butchery.
You know what, Mac, we're still learning, but I think if you build the right team and you train them well, you equip them well, and you lead them well. I think that's basically, anybody can get a consultant to help you to design a building or a factory or make something look nice, but the team is what is in essence something that you build and that drives the business forward. I think next to that, you need to get a good handle on what's coming in, quality and quantity wise, what do you have in stock. Make sure you take care of your wastages. I think if you put your customer first and you make sure your team are well looked after, and make sure you pay for your own mistakes, I think that's basically the essence of running a good business. You don't pass bad quality anything onto your customer. And I think that's the basics for me.
Yeah, I think you've shown through the Cleaver Awards, which you've won, that you do exactly what you say. We as South Africans, obviously, we love butchers. That goes hand in hand with everything that we do in South Africa. But there are definitely people out there who are looking to start up butcheries, and we welcome them. But do you have any advice for these people who would like to start up a new butchery?
I think, it's definitely possible. I think if you want to start, make sure you're up for the challenge. I think a lot of people have started butcheries over the past couple of decades, and a lot of them have failed. But I think not for a lack of trying. I think if you open a butchery, you need more than just a passion for good meat. I think a lot of people start with that and say, but I'm a passionate, or I like doing it. That's all well and good, but you must make sure that you find the right partners and mentors, if possible, and to guide you through that process, because will be a long road to build. And I would say the trends of the old butchery with that old mosquito net door that creaks, and you got that smell of the meat. Those days are gone. I think a lot of people go back and say, they want to do stuff on the olden ways, and that's good. It's good to have good principles, but you need to move with the trends. Your today's housewife doesn't want to have a smell of meat or have that warm smell. You need to have a clean operation. That's really, and you need to find out what your consumer wants. It doesn't help you go and try to do your own thing. If somebody wants something packed in a certain way, that's what you need to chase down. And I think start with the right raw materials. It's very important. A lot of people have good recipes for like boerewors, but they want to put bad quality meat in there, or substandard or cheap. It doesn't work that way. Start with the basics. You'll get them all right. And I think small things. You don't need to buy the whole carcass anymore these days. There's good primals out there. It gives you good control over your costing, gives you good balance in your butchery, and make sure you've got the right legislation stuff that we struggled with in the beginning years. Get the Meat Safety Act, get the ASIP, get the PRPs, work through them, get somebody to explain them. And if you do that, you've got the basics. You can build a butchery.
Now, finally, before we let you go, Walter, what would you like to say to the South African consumer out there about choosing to buy from a butcher?
I think from my side, I would say thank you. Thanks for supporting independent butcheries. We've got a very good culture of supporting independent butcheries. These are family businesses, mostly like ours, that create jobs in our economy. And I would say maybe support guys that do stuff right. I think there's a lot of local products out there that can be sourced locally. If you support that, you're supporting local businesses, the local farmers. You're turning that circle back. Often I get a person saying to me, there's no good butcheries near me. And then I would say to them, but what about that butcher that I know of? And they'll say, but they are expensive. Now, we're talking two different things now. You've got quality, but quality costs something. And for guys doing stuff right, it's like buying a new car with bad ABS and bad brakes. You need to pay the right premium to get the right vehicle, and you need that same thing in butchery. So, support locally, support independence. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Walter, for making time, and it's great always having you on Meat Matters.
Thank you.
So thank you, Walter. All the best for the new Cleaver Awards. Hope you do very well, and we look forward to see your butchery again under definitely the top 2. All that being said, you said that you live in Gauteng. Where can they find you?
Well, we've got a dedicated website, so it's www.impalafleis, like meat in Afrikaans.co.za. So shop.impalafleis.co.za. That's a straight line to the online store. So just on Google, and you're there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Right, so it's a pleasure to welcome Mr. Paul Mccube, agricultural economist at First National Bank. Welcome, Mr. Paul, to Meat Matters.
Thank you very much.
So please tell us about yourself and what is your favorite, let's say, beef on the braai.
Thank you very much. As you've introduced me, I'm Paul Mccube, and I'm an agricultural economist at FNB. Have been in agriculture for quite some time. Went through various institutions. I have been in the public sector before, working at agricultural colleges and research institutions before I joined the bank. So I've been with the bank for quite some time as an agricultural economist.
Paul, I want to dive right into this. We know that both input costs and infrastructure are critical factors to all of us. But please, can you tell us a little bit about both these factors in our current economy?
Okay, no, thank you very much. It's actually a topical issue at the moment. Input costs rising. And it's a combination of factors. You've got input costs that are more related to the exchange rate, and those that are and related to the crude oil price. And if you look at that, we look at your fuel costs. You look at the derivatives of crude oil, which is your fertilizer, your agrochemicals, your pesticides, and herbicides. So if you look at that, it's a group of inputs that are very critical for the agricultural sector, especially during this time that we are getting into heavy activity from a planting perspective, but also distribution of products across the country. And remember, when we talk fuel now, it hits both sides. It hits the consumer. It also hits the the producer. So the producer, in terms of higher costs, that in some instances is very difficult to actually pass it on to the consumer, especially from the agricultural side, as you are aware that there is that gap between the consumer and the producer. So that is the manifest of the higher input cost as well. So the exchange rate impact as well on higher commodity prices. I mean, maize in particular, that is very critical in your environment, in the livestock industry. We have seen record maize prices at the moment. So implications are that we're sitting with very high costs of feed, which then squeeze the margins that the producers can make, because there is a level at which you can raise increase your prices at product level, but at some stage you hit that resistance. But if you're on the cost side, that graph keeps on ticking up and coming closer to your product price, that margin for the producers becomes very, very thin.
So the GDP and consumer welfare in our agricultural economy, how are they linked?
Okay, so GDP is gross domestic product. Talks about the health of the economy. So the healthier the economy, expectations are that you are going to have the welfare of the consumer improved. So implications for agriculture, you are producing goods into that market. So the most important thing is, how does that gold that the consumer has, what the size of that gold? Otherwise, you're producing into an environment where that income is depressed. In any depressed income, expect that there's either going to be resistance or there's going to be a slow take-up of your product. So that is the relationship between simple relationship that we can talk about when we say consumer and GDP. And for GDP to happen, you have to have productivity. You have to have production happening. We had disruptions as a result of COVID, slowdown, and so on. Fortunately, in the agricultural sector, is an essential service, and therefore we continue to operate. And fortunately, given the favorable production conditions, rainfall in the past 2 years, and even now into the future, into the next season, it looks relatively good. So we expect a very, stellar performance from the agricultural sector, which is very positive for GDP in terms of contribution of agriculture to GDP. So that is the most important thing about that contribution of the agriculture sector to the economy. Recently, we talked about you talked about earlier on. We talked about you asked the questions about infrastructure. Very, very typical for the current moment. We had disruptions to our systems earlier on, and through collaboration by industry players and authorities to get the products out of the country that that are destined for the export market, we had that performance from the sector, and that is reflected in the recent quarterly export data for agriculture, which is positive, and we have been positive despite the current challenges on the global market, on the domestic market. But infrastructure is very, very critical, not only for the export market but also for the internal market, and it's also important, especially in your rural towns, that infrastructure there, because that's where your agribusinesses are, and where agribusinesses are going to face a situation where, for example, they have to support themselves and provide services that should have been provided elsewhere. That becomes too costly for them, and threatens the viability of small towns, which is very, very critical for us to actually stem the tide of movement away from the rural towns into urban centers where people get frustrated in there.
I think two of the things that we saw is that in the meetings that I've had with government, with the bigger organized agriculture, is that agriculture at this stage, I think, is taking the moral high ground. It's going very well, firstly. And secondly, I think from a government perspective, they are coming to the table. Transnet is definitely coming to the table and saying, listen, we want to help. We want to assist, for example, at the ports, to ensure that albeit I know at the end of the day, the citrus or the soft fruit, that it goes out. So there's a definite willingness. But something that we do not necessarily have a direct control over as of today, meaning that we need to look into the future, is climate. Climate change has been in the news again recently, and sometimes we get different information from different sources. What can you tell us? How does maybe you or FNB, how do you see this whole climate thing? I know that we've got the carbon footprint, it's coming in, and it's all interlinked with each other. But how does climate change affect us, and how do you, from a banking perspective, see this?
Yeah. It is with us now, and we have to tackle it, and we have to respond. We are forced into that situation because of the changes in the operating environment due to climate change. Agriculture is long-term lending, and therefore implications are that if you don't take climate change into account, you are going to find yourself in difficulty in future, either from a trade perspective, also from a production perspective, because we're seeing variation in rainfall patterns. We're seeing increased variability in rainfall and production, and that shift in climate means that you have to adapt. You have to come up with new methods of production. You have to have a different attitude toward production, and that you must be in sync with the environment. That you must take care of the environment, but it cannot take only one sector. It's a combined impact of everybody that is involved in production, and it's critical that we ensure that we reduce those so that we can have sustainable production in future. Given the fact that we are at the center of food security, and being at the center of food security means that we have to ensure that we have sustenance in future. Otherwise, there's going to be chaos that might befall us if we don't do that and not prepare for the next generation as well.
We're responsible and accountable.
Yes.
Mr. Paul, thank you for joining us today. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome the frontman of one of South Africa's greatest rock bands, with over 7 studio albums released and achieving gold and platinum status in South Africa. From Prime Circle, please welcome Ross Learmonth.
Innocent, the highs, the lows, the fights, the falls. I can't get out. This world is a prison. I want you, oh, love you.
How are you doing, my brother?
I'm good and you, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Superb, superb.
Cool, Ross. Devald Olivier here from the South African Feedlot Association. It's good to have you with us. And please tell us about yourself. How did Prime Circle start, man?
We started in the mining town of Middelburg and Witbank. I was from Middelburg, Royal Scouts of Witbank. And we started doing a tribute show for a friend of ours who passed away. He was an amazing metal guitarist. He could play so well you couldn't see his fingers moving. And we did a tribute for him, and we all met, and 21 years later we're still going. We haven't killed each other yet.
So Ross, I do remember there was a time where you were crazy about meat, and then you decided to go off, and then you started to come back. So when you're sitting with friends or the band, around the campfire or braaiing, what is your favorite cut of beef?
I love a fillet. I love a good fillet. You know, if you just cut it up nice and thin with some mushrooms, man. And that's my thing. Very, very hard for me to stop. That's what I crave the most when I do a vegetarian little stint for a while.
Let's just call it a stint and not make it a definite thing. Ross, you're an inspiration. I mean, South Africans out there, some of them would like to get into music, into the music business. Would you have any advice, and what advice would you have for them?
Don't do it. I think it's take it very, very seriously. I think a lot of people take it as a kind of a holiday career, you know, where you never really, you know, even though it's your hobby, let's say, and you can turn your hobby into your career, you'll never work a day. That's not necessarily true. It's a lot of hard work either way. You have to really, really be better at your craft. There's more and more people, especially doing music these days, and it's easier for them to do it. So it is just, you have to really be the best of a much bigger bunch than ever before. So that's really the hard part about it. So know that when you do it, you have to put everything in.
Now, lastly, just tell us what's coming up on your side, Roz, because I know, you know, sometimes you do shows on your own, you know, and what's coming up on the Prime Circle side.
As of late, I've started doing some shows on my own, yeah. I've been writing this solo record of mine for many, many years now, from London to Nashville to South Africa. So I think I'm going to be releasing a solo record next year, early to mid next year. It's going to be Prime Circle's 21st year as a band as well, so we'll be doing some big birthday bashes, and we'll be relaunching our Prime Fest. So the festival's going to be back. So we're really excited about next year.
I can't wait. I'm actually looking forward to the Prime Fest. I think it was, yeah, geez. I mean, it happened once. We were there. We enjoyed it. And then COVID happened, right? COVID happened. Yeah. So surely you're excited.
Yeah, it was. We had some major international players coming through for 2020, and then the world ended. So.
Well, hopefully the world is opening up for us again. We all look forward to getting back to what is and what is the new normal, what it is. But at the end of the day, thank you. Thank you, Ross, for joining us on Meat Matters.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry my signal wasn't the greatest, but really appreciate being on the show. Have a lovely day, gents.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
I'd like to thank all the guests that joined us on this episode of Meat Matters. My name is Mccube, and on behalf of the guy that has his feet on the table and the South African Feedlot Association, thank you for joining us on Meat Matters. See you on the next episode for more on the best of beef. Be healthy, be safe, and keep enjoying South African beef.
And stay away from Omicron.
Ciao.